Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're finishing up our 3-part editing series and we're going to finish it off with how to retouch the skin in Photoshop. This is just going to be a frequency separation tutorial. Okay, so today we're just going to be editing this picture of the lovely Nicole that we just shot in downtown Cincinnati this past weekend. Let's get right on into this. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do, we've got our background layer all ready to go. All you're going to want to do is make 2 copies of your background layer, and you can do this by, on a Mac, you can press Command J, and we're going to name layer 1 skin. You can really call it anything you want, TBH, and then I call this texture. And after you rename those, you're going to group these together, so you can do that by holding the Command key, click on them together, and then just press Command G. There they are. We're gonna go to the skin layer. We're gonna go to filter. We're gonna go to blur, go to Gaussian blur. As you can see in this lovely box up here, I want this to be blurry enough to the point where all the colors are kind of blending together. Good, I got about 9.5 for this photo, but it's gonna be different for other photos. This is what you kind of want your picture to look like. Press OK. And now if you want to see that it's blurry, you turn off your texture tool. Everything's out of focus. Anyway, let's turn back on the texture tool. We're going to select our texture tool. We're going to go up here to image, go down to apply image, and then you have this very complicated box up here and you're like, what is this? What you're going to want to do is go to layer. You want it to be on skin because you want them to blend together. You're going to want to check the invert box. You want this to be on add, and you will see everything has now turned gray. Click OK. Now we're going to go to this little tab where it says normal. Click on that. You're going to have a nice little folder drop down, so many options. But we're going to click on linear light. And guess what? We're back to the beginning. But all we did was we separated the texture from the photo. I know I'm really good at the technical lingo, so we want to have some insurance while we're doing this. We're going to make a copy of the skin layer, and we're going to do that again by pressing Command J. Right, now we can get into some retouching. So I'm just going to zoom in. So you're going to want to click on the healing brush tool. You can kind of make this brush as big or as small as you want. I'm gonna keep it at about 80. I like to turn off the texture tab and edit this way. I think I can see the colors blend a lot better this way. You're going to press Alt or Option, depending on your computer, and this will sample a piece of skin, and then you can just start blending all of these colors. This takes a lot of practice, recognizing what you need to sample from. It's just all about making all of these colors look smooth. So up here you can see her hair is a little bit almost in her face, but we just want this to be a nice smooth gradient. So I'm going to sample a piece here. We're just gonna start blending. So her under eyes, I just do this just in case she has sharp under eyes. I just like to smooth this out so it's not just like, hey, this might be too much. That's why I make a copy, just in case I make a mistake. Because everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has those days. Everybody knows that. Copyright, please don't come for me. Do it again, just sample option. It'll sample the skin, press, and then you just press on the area that you want to create a gradient. And if you want to go back and fix something, all you have to do is either go up into this tab and undo, or you can press Command Option Alt Z. The first time I watched a tutorial on it, I got so lost in the sauce, man. She's like, all right, now you want to sample the skin and then click, 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 click. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I don't think this is for beginners. She did a great job. I mean, here I am today. So now this contour looks a little crazy, so I'm just going to expand that out. Again, we just want all our colors to marinate. So I think that looks pretty smooth. Her skin was already almost perfect. I am gonna go and just retouch her neck a little bit. Oh, hey girl, you looking fresh. Now to see what we've done, we're gonna turn on our texture. Let's see a before and after. We're gonna turn off our skin copy, turn it back on. Yeah, it just really adds a lot. We got the coloring down. Now we need to go into this texture mess, and we're gonna create a copy again. So Command J, And so this texture copy just adds texture twice, so that's why it looks almost like HDR. We're going to turn off our texture copy and we're not going to turn it back on again. We just have it there just in case I mess up, and I probably will. We're still using this little healing brush tool. I'm going to turn my hardness up just a little bit. This works the same way as our first technique with the healing brush tool in our skin layer. You can see there's some texture discrepancies, and we're gonna fix those. Make my brush a little bit smaller, and all I'm gonna do is sample a piece of skin again. If you want to fix a blemish like this, just Option Alt, you press, and then you just glide it over. That's the way. We're going to have a very fancy speed up of me retouching her skin. The only advice I can give is I would not get this huge brush and just attack her face with it, because it is going to look very, very unnatural. Alrighty guys, we have attacked her face with the texture tool. We're just gonna see a before and an after. Before and an after. That's about it. I'm gonna show you another way you can kind of edit, and you're gonna go up here and you're gonna create a new layer, and we're gonna call this Skin 2. We're gonna be using our clone stamp tool. And basically, if there's any dark places on her face that you're like, I just want this to be brighter, this is a good tool to use. I'm gonna make my hardness 0. Opacity, we're gonna keep that about 15%. Again, our favorite, sampling a piece of skin. Can go down wherever you think needs to be brighter. For me, I think it's this area. Nobody's perfect. I messed it up earlier. All I'm doing is just brightening the skin. I'm brightening the skin before and after, before and after. I'm gonna go in with a smaller brush tool. I'm gonna sample this bright patch of skin right here. Her under eyes just a little bit. Before and after. Her face looks a little flat, so I'm gonna bring some dimension back into it. And I'm gonna do this by starting with the highlight, my favorite. We're gonna create another layer. I'm gonna call this highlight. We're gonna make sure that all of these layers stay underneath the texture tool. That's very, very important. We're going to go to our brush tool. We're gonna go down here, and I'm just going to flip this so that the white is the primary color that we want to use. We're gonna change this to overlay, and we're going to go in here. I'm going to make my brush a little bit bigger, and I'm going to keep the opacity at 10%, and we're just going to go in and highlight. And this looks crazy now, but I'm going to turn it down later. And so if you make a mistake, you can come down here to the erase tool. I'm going to make this brush a little bit bigger, just soften up these edges a little bit. All right, go back into our brush tool. Going to brighten up this inner corner. And so now all I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this opacity over here, and that's just the overall opacity of this layer. I'm going to drop this to about 70%. And now we're going to add to our contour. You guessed it, another new layer. I'm going to name it contour. I'm going to keep this on our brush tool. I think I'm going to sample this dark color right here. Switch it, so that's this main color. And then I'm just going to start contouring. Soften it up, and then go over to our opacity, drop it to maybe like 40-50%. Next thing we're gonna do is the lippies. So I'm just going to sample this color that's on the inside of our lips, because I think it's a really nice, very natural color. I'm gonna actually keep the opacity 100 for this. And again, drop this down to overlay. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna do multiply, because it makes it darker. Well, I would actually have your brush hardness a little bit harder for this so that it's more precise. I just overlined her lips a little bit. Sorry, girly. And as you can see, I messed up, so I'm going to go down here with my erase tool and just clean this sucker up a little bit. Drop that opacity again. I think maybe like a 40%. Yeah, that's very nice, subtle, natural. The last thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna pop those eyes. You guys have heard this from me a million times. So we're gonna go back to our brush tool. go back to this white and black square right here. I'm gonna make the white the primary color of choice. We're gonna go in here, make our brush a little bit smaller. I'm gonna turn my hardness all the way down. I'm gonna keep this about 50%. Also, this needs to be on overlay. I also put this usually on lighten. It does the job. And I'm just going to drag up the lighted parts of her eyes. And once I do that once, I'm gonna go back in again with a little bit brighter, but more focused brush. And I'm going to a little bit more focused areas. I'm gonna go all the way up to 100 now on the smallest tool. One more time. If you wanted to, you could switch to the black so that the black is the primary color that we're using. I'm gonna go in, make my brush a little bit bigger, make this maybe about 10% opacity. And I'm just going to carve out her iris, her pupil. And then I'm going to make this very, very small. I'm gonna put this at 20% opacity. Circle her eye. Nothing too crazy out here. It looks crazy when you're zoomed in, you're like,
oh, that looks very ratchet.
And then you zoom out and you're like, oh, okay, I see what you did there. That is it. I don't really color edit my photos in Photoshop. It's not really for me. I don't really enjoy it. Maybe in the future, we'll see. Hope you guys liked it. I have a really sick video coming out with a lot of really beautiful ladies. Stay tuned for that. Bye, guys.